Hello, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Peace upon you all. I am so happy and glad to be here with you today at the opening of the Global Conference for Science Diaspora Networks. And at the same time, speaking at the Science Summit at the side of the UNGA 77th session. Just to introduce myself briefly, I'm a professor of molecular cell biology from the Hashemite University in Jordan and currently a visiting professor at MIT. I'm also the president of the Society for the Advancement of Science and Technology in the Arab World, which is a network of senior scientists from all over the world who originate from the Arab world. And I'm also a social entrepreneur founding a program called We Love Reading and an advocate for women in science, having written a book about women in science and which reflects my own journey of being a scientist, coming from the global south to tell my story, to inspire young women and men from around the world that if they really want to do something, they can, and that nothing is impossible. So why are we so focused on networks of science and diaspora? That's a very important thing. Many of us, we grow up in our own countries, and then at a certain level in our lives, we want to go out and pursue our careers in science. And so we go to other places, whether because of lack of education opportunities or training in our own countries, or just to explore something new and follow our curiosity, or who's working on a particular field that we are interested in. And so we leave our countries and go other places, and we become part of the diaspora. And whether after attaining our objective or even coming up with new goals in our lives as we pursue our passions and curiosity, we sometimes go back to our countries of origin, or we don't, and we stay outside and abroad. So the question is, how can we give back to our communities, and how can our communities and countries of origin harness our potential wherever we are in the world? And hence the importance of discussing this topic and the importance of this conference itself and why we're doing it. So this leads me to giving you a description of my diaspora, the diaspora that I come from. So again, as I said, I'm head of the Arab diaspora, and this society, which is a nonprofit based in the United States, is a network of senior scientists who are from Arab origin all over the world. And it was born out of the mutual interest of the Arab expat scientists and academics living abroad to engage effectively within Arab education, science, and technology community to create a positive impact in the Arab world. And I'm sure all other diaspora networks have the same objectives to follow up on all activities that will have a positive impact on the status of science and technology and education in countries of origin. So when we decided to initiate this conference, we wanted to make sure that we were adding to the conversation and not repeating something that's already been said. And looking around, there haven't been any conferences that focus on capturing the diaspora. The International Organization for Migration defines diaspora as migrants or descendants of migrants whose identity and sense of belonging have been shaped by their migration experience and background. Diasporas are thus distinguished from other communities in that they maintain some link, cultural, linguistic, historical, religious, or affective to their home countries. And as such, they represent a bridge between host and home countries and favor both brain circulation and brain bank. So we want to move away from brain drain, and we want to emphasize and explore more how can we create a brain circulation and brain bank. So science diasporas in particular, and that's what we're focusing on, can play a key role in the development of their country of origin by transforming knowledge, skills, and technology. Diaspora networks are thus a hidden treasure of untapped potential. And in many cases, official and unofficial networks have emerged, yet they often struggle to deliver on their potential locally, regionally, and nationally, and globally. And now what we've seen with COVID-19 and the pandemic, it has brought us to the limits of our health, our social, economic, and labor systems, and provoked huge turbulence in multilateral relations. In parallel, science and its ability to inform policies for better responses has become a crucial component of the solution to the crisis. COVID-19 has taught us that we are only as strong as every human being in every network, and everyone counts, and we are truly a global community. And as a saying we have in our culture, that we are as weak as the weakest link we have, which is the last human being that needs to be taken care of. So this global conference for diaspora that kicked off today in the midst of the UN General Assembly, in the midst of the Science Summit, is a continuation. It's not the beginning. It's a continuation of the recent Global Diaspora Summit, which outlined the future agenda of action for global diaspora engagement through the Dublin Declaration. Which the Dublin Declaration that came out of that conference, IOM and iDiaspora, was general, but we're focused. We want to take the conversation forward more and focus on science. Hence our partnering with the Science Summit. As the world emerges at various paces from the COVID-19 pandemic, the GDS serves as a statement of global commitment, collaboration to the advancement of Objective 19 of the GCM, which is the Global Diaspora Summit, to create conditions for migrants and diasporas to fully contribute to sustainable development in all countries. And of the 2030 Agenda and its sustainable development goals, this commitment comes at a very timely manner as a time of opportunity to engage diaspora and transnational communities, including not just scientists, because we're going across communities and intergenerational, so including diaspora of youth, as partners for both humanitarian response and development, to mobilize the diverse range of diaspora capitals, cultural, economic, social, and human, for the benefits of societies in countries of origin and destination, and for the protection of migrants and saving lives. And therefore, one of the things that was brought up as we prepared for this conference is how complicated the term diaspora is, and its multi-layered, nuanced, complex meanings. And part of what we want to do in this conference is also unpack that term and what this word means in its broadest meaning, to be inclusive of everyone. So whether you're talking about a refugee, or you're talking about a migrant, or you're talking about somebody who chose to leave, or a second generation or a third generation, how do we make sure that we are inclusive of all these terms and do not discriminate or exclude anyone? So that's one important thing that came out of this conference, and that's why this conference is going to be a dialogue, a conversation that we look forward that everybody will participate in, those in diaspora and those in their home countries as well. In this conference, we wanted to focus on three themes. The theme of inspire, and that's why some of the sessions have a particular color to inspire. And these sessions showcase diaspora work and amplify their voices and frontline experience to inspire others. So it's a lot about storytelling. And we know the power of storytelling and how we evolved as a species to be storytellers. The second theme is to catalyze. So sessions that focus on catalyzing will create a space to connect different science diaspora with other stakeholders to exchange ideas, share knowledge, and bring change. And catalyze means to accelerate change. And we need it ever so much today because of the sustainable development goals that we want to achieve by 2030, we hope. And we as scientists in diaspora have a major role to play in that. Thirdly, to do. So sessions that advance progress through committed action globally. And that's why out of this conference, we're going to come up with a report and a set of recommendations that we will share with different stakeholders in different communities, both in diaspora and in their home countries, so that this is not just another conference where we talk, but actually we will do and come up with it. And hopefully maybe there'll be another follow-up conference annually, biannually, we will see, but it all depends on you, the participants, not just of this conference, but who will spread the word to their diaspora networks and their homes of origin to carry this message forward. So what we want to do is to enable the science diaspora from all scientific disciplines. We're not just focusing on applied sciences or basic sciences. We're talking about social sciences, humanities, to come together, because we want to emphasize the interdisciplinarity and the multidisciplinarity that we need, because to tackle the challenges of the 21st century, we need this interdisciplinarity. Without it, we will not be able to solve them. And also, not just focusing on interdisciplinarity in all the sciences, we are inviting multiple stakeholders. So it's not just academia and national academies or alumni academy networks. We're also inviting in these 3 days governments. So we have different governments involved, industry, because the industry wants to capitalize on the scientists in diaspora, and media, right? We can communication, reaching out. So all these cross-cutting themes are going to be part of the conversations that we're going to have in these 3 days, because we want to learn from each other. We want to share experiences, challenges, and successes. Most importantly, come up with solutions that are practical and that can push us forward, as well as sharing best practices so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but learn from each other and build on that, so that our networks of diaspora can be more efficient in their work and more effective wherever the scientists are located, and especially within their home countries. So we're going to review existing diaspora networks and identify good practices. We're going to bring together international science communities. And we are so proud that we have a plethora of scientists from all over the world. We have all 7 continents involved. We have Africa, we have South America, North America, Europe, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East, and even parts of Australia. So we're really glad that this is a truly global conference, so that we can learn from each other. And we're not just talking about diaspora of lower and middle income country. We have networks of diaspora participating in this conference from all over the globe. Diaspora is not necessarily about need, it's about exploration and curiosity. So we have diaspora from Spain, diaspora from Italy, diaspora from different parts of the world. And the idea is to facilitate this coming together of the main actors in the field to forge a new consensus in improving links and support to diaspora networks. And this is very important, but it has to be, we have to understand, what does a network mean? And that's why we have one of our sessions is about how do you create networks and how you maintain them, and how we can be active participants in networks. We have Maria Gallo, who just wrote a book about the Alumni Way, which talks about networks. We also are really happy to say that this is serendipity, that at the same time as this conference, a news report on science diaspora networks just came out. And they will be hosting the authors, Dorothy Butler, Barbara Del Castello, Steve Elliott, Elena Goldenkopf, Isabel Warner, and Alexandra Zimmerman are going to be presenting their findings of their reports. And their report is based on that scientists and researchers are increasingly pursuing educational and professional opportunities abroad. And since the turn of the 21st century, countries and fellow emigres increasingly develop science diaspora networks that support them. However, these networks are relatively new, right? And for any given network, there's usually an underlying organization that administers that communication and channels and activities, as well as member recruitment and finances and other logistic details required to operate a network. So these are more mundane things, but they are important for the success and sustainability of these networks and effectiveness as well. And these networks are relevant not only to us as scientists in our local communities, but to other stakeholders, funders, intergovernmental organizations, even the countries that host the diaspora networks. For us in the United States, where our Arab diaspora is located, these, in addition to their countries of origin, of course, are all interested in these networks. And they will use this knowledge that is coming out of these networks to inform their uses, their investments, and evaluations and interactions. However, as I mentioned, within this growing academic and gray literature about science diaspora, there's little robust and systematically developed knowledge about these networks and their underlying organizations. There are several reasons for this shortage. First, science diaspora networks, as I said, are relatively new and a specialized phenomena. And the very concept of science diaspora networks remains ambiguous and is often imprecisely operationalized. That's why this conference is very important, because we've put it in the limelight. We've defined it, we've underlined it, and we've called it out. And relatedly, science diaspora networks vary widely in their characteristics and functions, leading to differences in how they define success, overcome challenges, and plan for the future. As a result, meaningful studies to canvass, characterize, and compare networks can be difficult to design and execute. That's why the report that is being launched within this conference will document the results of a empirical study that attempted to characterize these science diaspora networks and their underlying organizations, and to document how managers characterize operational successes, challenges, future plans, and relations to science diplomacy. So we're really excited, and we ask you to tune in, to listen to about this report, read its recommendations so that you can adopt it in your work. I'm also going to share why this is so important for the Science Summit that is hosting us at the same time. Again, we need the interdisciplinary, we need the multidisciplinary, which this conference is hosting, because we're not just focusing on basic science, but all the sciences. But we've seen that in order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and this is so relevant today at the UN General Assembly, where I am based in New York currently, is that we need science, we need research, we need evidence, and we need data. And it's not enough that the data is coming from one part of the world. Unfortunately, the history has been where, in recent history, in the last 100 years, the data and the research is coming out of the global north, and there's a bias in the data, and this is not good enough for the world. Because as we develop and tackle the health challenges that we're facing, global climate, war, and strife, we cannot use the data that is skewed to a particular population. We need all the data we can get our hands on. And that means everybody must contribute. And that means we need the scientists from all over the world to contribute to producing this data. And more importantly, not just to produce it, but to also offer it free and open access so that everybody can access it, to use it and build on it, so that we can create a global collective knowledge and experience and expertise that can be available to anyone who wants to solve the local problems to tackle the Sustainable Development Goals. So this is very, very important. And that's why the Science Summit is important. Our global conference in Diaspora is important, because it highlights these important points. And that's what we call for in terms of being inclusive and being open access and encouraging scientists from the global south to have a voice, encouraging scientists in diaspora to reach out back to their home countries and help support capacity building, capacity sharing, and creating knowledge within their own countries of origin, not just to help them, but to do better science, to help humanity all over the world. And in this context of talking about inclusiveness and equity, I want to raise the issue of gender, to make sure that we have equity in terms of gender. And I'm very proud to say, if you look at the speakers in our conference here at the Global Conference for Science and Diaspora, we have over parity in female participation and in the speakers and in the attendees. So really, really excited that we have a global representation, number one, and then we have a huge gender representation and equity in our speakers, which to us is something that we hope we will lead the others. And the last point I want to talk about this is innovation, right? We need to have innovation, and innovation will only come when we are comfortable with ambiguity, when we are ready to listen to others and to be humble. And you know, those are the hallmarks of being a scientist, that you are ready to critique yourself, you are ready to change your mind, you are open to listen to other opinions and reevaluate your own thoughts, your own reflections, and your own perspectives. And that is very important to advance. It's very important to tackle the challenges of today. But what comes with innovation and being open is also empathy and listening, right? To listen to others, listen with understanding, listen with an open mind, listen with the inner goal that I will change, right? I am ready to change. And I think empathy is about putting yourself in the shoes of other, and trust. So the third thing is trusting others, right? And I think the whole world lacks trust. And with trust comes communication and seizing control. And the control must not be from one part of the world to another. It should be about collectively, collaboratively working together to solve these problems. And so whether both the Science Summit and the Global Conference on Science Diaspora Networks, in their core objectives are all these values of trust, of empathy, of collaborative action together, with equity and equal representation of everybody and inclusiveness, so that together we can use science and evidence base and all the collective brains around the world to solve the challenges of the 21st century and achieve the sustainable development goals that we want to achieve in time. So with that, I invite you all to attend all the sessions in these 3 days for the Global Conference in Science Diaspora. You can find the program online, and to attend all the Science Summit, which is a more extended period. And we want you to reach out to us to be part of this journey, and to contribute your ideas, your thoughts from wherever you are in the world, because we need you. Remember, each person has a unique DNA. There's nobody who has lived or is living today or who will live in the future who has your DNA. So you're very unique. You know, even identical twins are slightly different because the environment they grow up in is different because of epigenetics. So you have something unique to give to the world. Don't deprive the world of your uniqueness. You know, reach out, find those challenges around you, reach out and create teams. Trust your gut feeling, have confidence in yourself, trust your fellow humans, and be humble. Remember, and let your curiosity lead you, and your urge, your altruism, which is all characteristics of what makes us human, what made us survive as a species and evolve, to come together to solve the problems that we're facing. And hopefully this will be what we need for survival of the species on our only home, which is home Earth. So I'm going to stop there. I don't know if there are any questions from the attendees, but I urge you to share your reflections on social media. We have some hashtags that we will put into the chat. So please tweet, put on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you have your social media channels, and share the word that we need you, and everyone is important. Thank you very much.